What's going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here, doing a different type of video on the channel. I've kind of strayed away from doing solo character videos, as you know, I don't find them as interesting to do, at least for Naruto characters. But there is one character in the Naruto community who you'll be hard pressed to find a common consensus on, that being Tobirama Senju. You either think he's one of the following: God tier, Rinnegan Madara to Jubito level, absolute garbage due to him getting taken out by Kinkaku and Ginkaku's unit, or just somewhere in the middle. I feel as if the character suffers somewhat due to the miscommunication on him and his skill set. So today I'll be discussing Tobirama Senju and a lot of misconceptions about him, his arsenal, and his strength. That being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this Naruto content, or anything like that. If you guys are anything like me and enjoy anime, but are always iffy about a lot of these anime sites with all these pop-ups and hyperlinks and whatnot, I want to make sure your device is protected. Look no further, as Atlas VPN is the absolute move for you. Atlas VPN is more than your average VPN. It blocks all malicious links, making it so nobody can try and steal your data, making it so you can browse or watch whatever you want stress-free. So you'll definitely want to pick this up for your anime watching journey sooner rather than later, as they actually have a special going on right now. It's super easy to use. Simply select whatever country you want to be in, and bam, you're connected in one click. This works on PC and mobile alike, so you can make sure you're secure on the go with unlimited devices to boot. Whether you're looking for something on Google and want to organically search something, or want to stream region lock shows on your favorite streaming services, Atlas VPN is the move. You can have a private Christmas and a safe New Year with Atlas VPN Premium. You can have it for just $1.70 a month with 6 months for free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Click the link in the description below and grab this Christmas deal right now. So one of, if not the strongest points of Tobirama's arsenal nobody will ever mention is his Suiton, or water release, which I understand you want to focus on the cool stuff like flying ThunderGod or tandem paper bombs with his crazier feats coming from those showings. However, Tobirama's water release is his forte and what he does focus on within his arsenal. The reason Tobirama's FTG doesn't get hyped up like Minato using it is A, due to the fact that he doesn't perform as crazy feats with it in a war to spread notoriety with it, along with the fact that Tobirama uses it a lot more conservatively and doesn't base his entire arsenal around it, but we'll get into that in a bit. Now, back to Tobirama's water release. It really is something special. I'm surprised more people don't mention, as the dialogues make extra effort to mention how it was what he was especially skillful at. In a nerf state making him on par with Hashirama due to an inferior of the Edo Tensei, Orochimaru was convinced that based on one showing of Tobirama's water style ninjutsu that he was justified in his Hokage tier. Tobirama with one hand sign, defeating Hiruzen's fire release, fire dragon flaming bullet, specifically noted to have outstandingly great power he is proud of. This casual showing for Tobirama being even more impressive considering Hiruzen's lore surrounding the 5 Kage and what that might suggest for his AP and who he's able to damage, and that this is a double nerfed version casting this type of jutsu. Obviously there is an elemental matchup in play and all, but we do know from Madara in the war that, and other examples in the series, that this is more so prevalent when the two type of jutsu are on par. If one jutsu is just vastly superior, they're the elemental matchup doesn't really matter. It's like Pokemon and how the super effective moves only really matter if the two types are relative to one another. If you hit a level 1 Charmander with a level 100 Venusaur Solar Beam, the Charmander's losing. So it's similar to that. If you can understand that type of analogy, they more so have to be on par. So, and the fact that this is like a double nerf Tobirama does say something to his water release. A lot of people will compare Kisame to Tobirama in their ability to create water from seemingly nothing, but Tobirama seemingly can create it from H2O in the air, as the anime depicts it circling around Tobirama, with the manga being less clear but still showing Tobirama creating water from nothing, with Tobirama creating a water dragon in the fight, again with one hand sign, which is pretty absurd for high level water ninjutsu, with Tobirama's showings being extended in the anime depiction of the fight, with him freely manipulating water into tendrils to grab targets, along with long range jets of water in tandem. Tobirama's water style showings aren't as hyped up in the war arc when he's brought back as the Edo Tensei, as ninjutsu is essentially worthless against whoever he's fighting. But that still doesn't stop him from having some good showings in the war arc with his water release. An example being the water release Heavenly Weeping, that being the high velocity water that Tobirama spits at Madara that actually forces him to block the water with his Susanoo, which is interesting as Madara is literally just before this allowing the Bijou to combo him up and is just tanking their attacks, like Shukaku's sand attacks and whatnot. Yeah, he's not willing to play around with Tobirama, which does say something to the level of threat Tobirama does have have over Madara. And Tobirama does this feat while having his chakra disrupted via Rinnegan rods, which is pretty impressive. You know, Senju clan members are pretty crazy in this regard, as even Hashirama could give Sasuke a jutsu while having his movements restricted, along with the Senju clan having lore of them excelling in ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. So Tobirama does benefit from the fruits of his Senju biology as well. We also have some information about Tobirama in the anniversary guide with his water style fresh water blade, a technique of the second Hokage, not seen during his battle with the third Hokage. Even with no water source, he forms a huge water spiral with a long attacking range. When it comes to this lance, surely there is nothing that can't be cut. Which, if you interpret that like these types of statements are only applicable to the time period that they're in, this would just be another really good AP showing for Tobirama's water style that could be extended over to the Raikage and other fighters at the time based on lore of other surrounding characters. So this is like his own like Chidori equivalent with like a high piercing move. Or potentially other statements surrounding Tobirama, which discusses the fact that Tobirama was renowned for his ability to create tsunamis on the battlefield with no water around. So it kind of gives this narrative, like this is kind of how he fought. He was like flooding battlefields and just doing all this crazy stuff, probably incorporating Flying Raijin like with these types of distractions. So it's very, you know, it's just a lot of great stuff for Tobirama's water style, which a lot of people will overlook just for the sake of discussing like the more crazier stuff in his arsenal, which I can understand, but you know, this is something he does focus on and is a specialty for him. Now, while on the topic of Tobirama's arsenal, Tobirama has been marked as the inventor of countless notorious jutsu throughout the series, including but not limited to the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Edo Tensei, Flying Thunder God, with countless techniques never mentioned, such as the Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu, used exclusively in the anime for Tobirama, yet should be possible since he has Yin release and Hashirama doesn't. Despite Tobirama not being listed a user of the technique. So interpret that however you will, along with paper bomb manipulation, whether this is in the form of his tandem paper bombs or Tobirama directly manipulating the paper bombs onto Jubito with his chakra. Impressive sensory capabilities as well. Nobody brings this up either, from what I've seen. Allowing Tobirama to discern chakra signatures at close range and sense powerful chakra at long. It should also be noted that when it comes to sensory capabilities, this can be a form of threat perception, as sensory type jonin such as Fu can sense Obito and make counter strikes in the midst of combat, so this should extend to Tobirama as well. Along with Tobirama never really weaving signs for his sensory capabilities, whereas we see shinobi who are renowned for their sensory capabilities, like Karin, who actually do need to like weave hand signs to sense around. So another aspect of Tobirama's arsenal that's never brought up is his Kenjutsu, and how, you know, he is just ridiculous with it. Him being a rival to Izuna, who was noted to be overflowing with Kenjutsu talent, with Tobirama being a rival to Izuna, who just scrapped with him for his entire life. But we could also see a fusion of these two talents, the Innovator and his Kenjutsu, with Tobirama creating the Sword of ThunderGod, named after his technique, the Flying Thunder God, obviously. The blade showing up in 3 separate continuities: the anime, Naruto Path of Ninja 2, and Naruto The Broken Bond. The sword is treated as an established item in the lore within all 3 continuities. In the anime, the sword is described as legendary and as a Konoha treasure. The blade is a chakra saber, which is really interesting that Tobirama was actually able to invent something like this far before Boruto even like came about, or any of like that technology came about. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of Naruto media does show technology, like the Naruto movies, for example. So it's not that crazy of a jump to say like technology comes about. But, you know, back to this blade is made of lightning chakra, and the blade releases electrical energy capable of paralyzing the opponents. This could mean that Tobirama has more than entry-level mastery in lightning release if he invented the blade and imbued it with his power, or he did it through other means and circumvented any lack of mastery over lightning release that he had. The blade is stated to have the ability to neg chakra-based substances. This can be seen when Aoi uses it to cut through Naruto's Rasengan and absolutely slaps away Sasuke Chidori. The blade does break when hit in the same spot by Rasengan and Chidori, but Sasuke was actually enraged when he hit the blade. Like, he was super like enraged due to the fact that Aoi like was mentioning Itachi and whatnot, with Naruto just hitting the same spot. So this could be a result of Aoi using the side of the blade as a shield instead of the edge, or like just him using it defensively, which it may lack defensive properties. But if a random jonin can negate several A-rank chakra-based ninjutsu with the Sword of ThunderGod, Tobirama, who is astronomically higher, would be capable of cutting through almost anything with it, with Tobirama being said to have used the actual weapon. The 10th anniversary guide brings up the Sword of ThunderGod as a piece of information here, describing it as a Konoha treasure, along with it being displayed in the anime profiles, volume 3, with Kishimoto being cited as the author of the anime profiles. Either way, just added bonus to like Tobirama as the inventor. Another aspect of Tobirama's character that I think is blown out of proportion by the community is, quite frankly, how he died. This might be one of the most downplayed examples of a character's death in the series for no reason at all. Kinkaku and Ginkaku, for starters, possess 6 paths, sacred treasures, which are said to demonstrate power surpassing even the 5 Kage, with the duo using this in conjunction with their version 2 cloaks to inflict heavy damage to the 2nd Raikage and 2nd Hokage. The duo used ninja tools with their base chakra before even obtaining any of Kurama's, so they're animals in their own right, but people also try to say like Daorui competing with them or being able to contest their nerfed Edo Tensei counterparts is a big like anti-feat for them, but this could actually just be considered a feat for Daorui in all actuality. Daorui, who is able to keep pace with the Raikage throughout his combat endeavors and would go on to be instrumental in taking down future Otsutsuki, with certain elements in that fight being lost on people, like Ginkaku blatantly not killing Daorui in order to take his word, or Daorui being mentally amped after thinking back to him being the Raikage's aide and him being the right arm. There's a lot of factors at play, along with just Kinkaku and Ginkaku blatantly not going all out. As when the brothers are transformed into their version 2 cloak, the Raikage believes their army would not be able to stop them, which includes fighters like Choza, stated to have the highest war potential in Konoha and is able to brawl with the Geto statue. The 4th Raikage also conceding the only way to actually stop the duo is with their own ninja tools being used against them, which is consistent with the version 2 cloak being ridiculously durable to the point Sannin fighters can't breach Four-Tails Naruto's cloak to even damage him. It's the same here when Kutsuchi attacks Kinkaku. He's completely unharmed from the technique, with the whole platoon requiring diversion tactics in the Inoshika trio to seal him, which is the only item that could have actually defeated him on the battlefield. Like, imagine if the sealing jar just didn't exist or wasn't in the possession of the Cloud. The duo would have never been stopped, and even then the sealing jar is ridiculous, as the 8 Tails, even after being aware of its existence, got sealed by it repeatedly. So even them being sealed isn't even that big of like an L for them. It's not inconsistent for these individuals who've absorbed Bijou Chakra to be as strong as Jinchuriki, as even Sora from the anime original arc is a pseudo Jinchuriki and is stated to have power almost equal to that of the original, with Sora only achieving 4 tails of the 9 tails chakra and losing consciousness, compared to the duo who can reach 6 tails and still have cognitive awareness. So these comparisons are just very consistent. And it goes back to like Tobirama dying to the 20-man Kinkaku unit. I see a lot of people just bring this up and it's like, oh, it's the bad feat for Tobirama, when in reality we have no idea to the strength of the unit. For all we know, they could have been all Akatsuki level or unnamed shinobi like the Anbu Black Ops, especially when considering Tobirama's own escort unit is comprised of mostly elite Konoha shinobi. So it's a little weird to me how people will just like, you know, based on a group we've never seen fight, when this logic can be applied to a whole plethora of characters. For example, right, we never see Hashirama die. Hashirama is literally the pinnacle of the shinobi world, even like past his death, yet who was actually able to take him down? You know what I'm saying? We've never seen that. So it's always weird to me, especially since like Kishimoto definitely makes a point to hype up Kinkaku and Ginkaku and treat them as like this force that like as a duo, even the data books like reference it, are like worth thousands of shinobi. So they would be absolutely ridiculous. And this isn't even talking about the possibility of Tobirama being fatigued at the end of the mission, all that type of stuff. Some people might say like he doesn't look that fatigued, even though he's got like scratches and dirt on him. Kakashi, when he finishes off Zabuza and has to bluff to all of Gato's men that came to the bridge, he's fine. There's no sweat, there's no huffing and puffing. He has a very neutral face. Yet he also notes he's out of chakra, so there's certain assertions that could be made, but this little point always irked me when people brought it up, just because, like, I don't know, it's like Ginkaku and Ginkaku are like animals. I've never understood like why people attempted to downplay them. They were actually just ragdolling an entire platoon and would not have been defeated if the sealing jar wasn't in play. So that's my 2 cents on like Tobirama's death. Those are my general thoughts. There's definitely more to it, but I don't want to make the video solely about this, so we're just gonna keep it moving. But yeah, my general thoughts on it. The Flying Thunder God is another one of those pieces of Tobirama's arsenal that a lot of people really don't focus on, just due to the fact that Minato had developed the jutsu far further along and based his entire fighting style around it, which isn't any shade at Minato, because Minato's an animal in his own right. I'm just simply stating the facts. Like, Minato did base a lot of what he does on the Flying Raijin, which is kudos to him for being able to do that and, advance the jutsu as far as he did. But Tobirama does have a lot of really good showings with the technique, which is pretty obvious since he made it. Tobirama's very impressive in how many people he could teleport with Flying Raijin simultaneously, shown to be up to 4, along with him teleporting 2 Bijou to markings he had placed on Jubito. Interestingly enough, Minato's special Jonin unit, who are exposed to a more developed version of the jutsu, could only teleport Mei alongside themselves, leading to the idea that it's a very low chakra consuming technique that's main issue is in terms of its mastery. So Tobirama is performing feats shinobi who had decades to practice his technique and learn from advancements made in it aren't able to perform, which I think is very interesting. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail on his showings against Jubito and Madara, since a lot of people make that into subjects for debate, and I've already discussed my opinions a little bit in other videos, but I'll say this to kind of like give my own opinion on this. The reason there's so much discord, at least from I've seen, with these showings, is that you have Tobirama being painted blatantly lower than Hashirama. Like, even when he chakra flexes Sasuke, Hashirama flexes his chakra and Tobirama riles down. He blatantly is conceded to be like lower than Hashirama, who's like without peer in the shinobi world. You know, obviously Izuna and Tobirama are like the lieutenants to Madara and Hashirama, but then you have like Jubito, right, who's just stated to be stronger than Hashirama. And then you have like Tobirama kind of perform well against him. Same thing with Madara, who goes on to attain his Rinnegan. Tobirama goes on to have a decent showing in like his combat. Obviously there's layers to that fight with like when he activates his Flying Raijin. It's a whole subject of debate, even with like this statement about Madara saying, you know, you were hailed as the or boasted the fastest speed of any shinobi. That line alone has caused a lot of debate. So this is kind of why there's a bit of a discourse on like how strong or like how fast Tobirama is, like what his reaction speed scales to or whatever. Just due to the fact that like, I don't want to say it goes against like what the narrative portrays, because obviously like if you want like whatever the the narrative, quote unquote, but like what the series is like hyping up, like the series hypes up to Hashirama. You have these fighters stronger than Hashirama. Boom, here comes Tobirama doing very well. So there's a little bit of that, and like whatever narrative you want like those feats to fall under is kind of like where you place Tobirama. Some people think one thing or another. I'm not going to assert anything here. I'm just more so discussing like why this is the case. But I'll say this to kind of like put a bow on it. If Tobirama was actually fodder, he just would have gotten obliterated against Jubito and have been no help in that battle, simply put. Jubito being the actual entry level into the next tier of power in the franchise. So Tobirama does have to be pretty brolic to help out, like to be even like relevant in this fight. Especially when like Naruto and Sasuke and like are like looking like children against Jubito until like they power up and adapt a little bit further with their own powers. So I think that does say something about Tobirama. So kind of went off on a bit of a tangent, but that kind of gets into like the Flying Raijin along with, you know, some of Tobirama's other abilities like the tandem paper bombs and like what he accomplishes with those feats and like blowing up Hashirama's deity gate and whatnot. So it's almost as if like his feats go against like what the narrative is portraying, and obviously it depends on like what the context you're discussing is. Like maybe you're debating with somebody or you're just having a, you're discussing in the comments or something like that. It entirely depends on like how you argue it, because some people might argue it that all his feats fall inside the narrative, or like he's just, maybe he's like faster than Madara and Hashirama, but he's not able to contend with their defenses. There's arguments for all of it. So that's where a lot of like disconnect comes in with like Tobirama and a lot of people. So that's kind of like what I'm pointing out. Obviously think what you want, but I'm just kind of like pointing it out to like kind of just I think we should all be self-aware about these things if you're gonna like talk about the characters. So there's also underrated aspects about his characters, like his intelligence, his extensive knowledge on the Uchiha clan, like how he is during the battlefield. He like instantly he surmises like how Naruto's sharing his chakra, and like fully analyzes like the entire play being had, along with making like combo strategies with Minato on the fly. So he's just got really good showings in combat as well. This also isn't mentioning how he's the one who suspected that Obito had attained 6 paths and was using jutsu based on the light and shadow styles that nullifies all ninjutsu, that being like the truth-seeking orbs. Or how he's the one who kind of figures out alongside Naruto that Senjutsu is effective against Jubito. He just makes all these insane observations and like these deductions in the midst of combat. So he's just really solid on an intellectual level as well. Along with like forbidden jutsu to save Sasuke's soul when like he's about to die from a moderate stab wound, which is absolutely insane. I don't know. I think there's a lot of nuance to Tobirama's character that gets lost on a lot of people. And just this fact that he has such an extensive arsenal, yet, you know, a lot of people will focus on certain things. But this video isn't really like to properly scale him, to guess you could say. It's more so just to discuss aspects of his character I think get forgotten or aren't mentioned like enough. I apologize if you wanted to see where I think like Tobirama scales to and whatnot. I just didn't want to make the video about that. I'd rather save that for when I pair him with somebody else. But yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Just a little bit of a discussion on like Tobirama as a whole. I think he's very interesting and very, you know, I don't know. It's weird what people do with the character. So that's the video. Big shout out to my boy Alask. He hooked me up with a lot of info, and like we kind of had a bit of a back and forth on him with a lot of topics and stuff like that. So, you know, shout out to my boy. He didn't really want me to link anything, but he helped me out a bit with the video as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts on Tobirama, like how strong you think he is, you know, your thoughts on everything. Who do you think he beats and why? Whatever, you know, just talk about it. Let's start a discussion. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.